Back on the prospect trail, and I think we have maybe the most high-profile duo we've had in quite some time. Cologne. I am in love with this kid, and I am so glad we were able to pick him up in the draft just a season ago. Uh, yeah, this guy, 6'5", 240, absolute madman, throws gas. Yeah, let's just break this guy down. He is our number 7 prospect, number 60 overall in Major League Baseball. I think he has number 1 prospects capabilities in the future very soon. He's a huge lefty, again, 6'5", 235, like I was saying. Top end velocity, mass equals gas. He hums it by you. Four-seamer, curveball, slider, changeup, his pitch mix. He has this decent control on all of his pitches. However, his curveball is really his best pitch. He was a 22-year-old coming out of the, or 21-year-old, coming out of the University of Tennessee. We loved what we saw this guy do in the SEC, dominated teams like Arkansas, dominated teams against like LSU, Florida. Vanderbilt gave him some issues, but Vanderbilt gives everybody issues. They're Vanderbilt. But just an absolute stud in the making. I'm so glad we're able to pick him up. Big break on everything. And with that, his fastball has some movement to it. It can be deadly. Add that break, that movement, that inverted vertical break, whatever they're calling it. You're able to kind of ride that fastball on top of the zone, use that curveball to just devastate hitters. Like, that is his best pitch. And then you have the changeup for velocity and slider for a little bit of different movement. Yeah, I mean, I think he has the goods, and we just have to develop it. We've done nothing but develop starting pitching since I've been here, so I have no qualms about it. The one thing about him is he is still raw. This is going to be his first and only appearance in Double-A all season. He is still raw. No true elite skill quite yet. And like we said, I feel like I'm a broken record. With guys that have that profile, it's a double-edged sword where you can get a lot of things to be really, really good, or you really don't get one true skill to really ride on in the minor leagues, to then build up everything else, because you can rely on either striking guys out or not giving up walks or really keeping the ball in the yard, things of that nature. To really rely on that to develop everything else. You kind of get what I'm saying there? Either way, we feel like this guy is putty, and it's the most perfect putty in the world for us. In this start, guys were getting to his fastball early. I think he's just so used to throwing this thing as hard as he can and no one being able to touch it. This thing, it sits in that 95 to 100 range, depending on the day, depending on which way the wind is blowing, So, very interesting to see him kind of struggle with that, but he kind of changed his tune a little bit. His strikeouts started coming in that second and third inning. Finished with 6 total on the day, with a decent amount of those coming in that kind of section of the ball game. His curveball, it was incredible on the start. Again, that's his best pitch. Guys were not used to seeing it. This is kind of the level where guys are so geared up for velocity, because that's the biggest hurdle. That when you have that breaking pitch that's that good, it's hard for them to adjust back to it. And he was able to use both of those very good in the start, and that curveball really shined through. He was using it in all counts to get ahead, to get back into counts, to put batters away. Again, just using it like other people use their fastball. And if you're doing that, it's going to be great. Through 6 innings of work, he gave up hard hits just 3 times. Everything else was kind of just sprinkled out and sprinkled here, there, the other way. But really just 3 true times someone really got a hold of the pitch that I was able to count. There might have been more, but off of recollection and being there were 3 times where I was like, damn, that guy hit hard. And it resulted in a hit. He went into the 7th inning in his first taste of Double-A. Ended up with a win in this game. 6 2/3 innings pitched. He went 7 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. What's his major league future? We think that he can be in the rotation for a very, very, very long time. You see guys like James Mora. You see guys like Bud Leonard. You see guys like Bobby White and all the other ones that we've deemed the guys, I think this has the most the guy potential out of all of them. And this guy was a steal later on in the draft. Yeah, I'm that high on Roger Cologne. And that's what he did in his first appearance in AA. You love to see it. Moving on to going to be the future of our organization not too long from now. Troy Wood. He is an outfielder that we were able to pick up in the Jesus Luzardo trade with the A's in the offseason. He was a first-round pick in 2026, I believe. Went right ahead. I think that was the James Zamora draft, no? Or the Marco Garcia draft, if I'm not mistaken. So he went right before him, I think, number 3 overall. He's our number 2 prospect, the number 2 left fielder in all of the game, and the number 10 MLB prospect overall. Again, first rounder, got him to trade. He's a big contact plate discipline guy. He is the Stephen Kwan replacement for next year. Stephen Kwan's contract's coming up. We do not believe we are going to be renewing it, at least at this very moment in time. So this is a guy who profiles very similarly to Kwan. Great plate skills, high contact, not going to have a whole bunch of power. Will steal a couple bases, maybe not as good of a base stealer as Kwan is, but definitely not as good as a fielder as Kwan is. Fielding's in a rough spot, but the bat is just so good is my next point, like I'm saying. The fielding needs to work. It needs to improve. We have kind of hung our hat on being one of the, if not the best defensive team in the league for the last couple of years, really. And having a bad defender, especially in how cavernous our ballpark is, we need to have really good outfield defense, and we really have had that our entire time, or at least since we've been starting to really get good, right? So we want to keep that going. However, maybe Troy Wood might be an exception. I don't know if he's ever going to be a Gold Glover out there, but I think he can be fine. And that's all we need. Like, we have a really good center field defense, a really good infield defense with Devar and Domine and all that. Our up the middle has been very solid. We have one outfield corner that's going to be a little bit dicey. Maybe he slots into right field, not because of the arm, but because of how that ballpark plays. I don't know. But yeah, that's what we got for Troy Wood there. He's not freaky athletic, but still good enough to play our outfield. He's fast enough to get to balls. He's quick enough to steal some bases, but he has a very long swing, which can result in some weak contact. You'll see it here. Kind of gets under balls a little bit. Is ahead of balls, and with that long swing also can get behind him a little bit. But when he does time it up, boy, it's getting barreled. He can really hammer baseballs when he does that. He also is a pretty good base runner, all things considered, not just stealing bases, but just running the bases altogether. And yeah, over these 3 games we got to watch him play, he went 3 for 13 overall, had a stolen base, got caught stealing, also drew a walk. And what is his future? Well, I think he's going to be our starting left fielder next year. He is a prime candidate to be called up at some point this season. We're not counting that out. However, we will try to not service manipulate him, but we like where our roster's at right now. We chose to go Gehringer over him just because I think Gehringer's bat plays more to what we want on our bench. Troy Wood's obviously the better player, but it just kind of fit a little bit better, especially Benny Montgomery up there. The plan here most likely will be Kwan goes, and we're going to try to maybe even trade Benny Montgomery coming up in the season. He's going to be our bench guy. I don't think he's good enough to be our starting center fielder, and he's coming up on arbitration. If we can save $1 million or $2 here or there, I would love to do that. So Benny Montgomery will probably be getting traded, and Troy Wood's going to slide in there and be our left fielder. We're probably going to move Jazz Chisholm back to center unless something else happens. At worst, he's a bench bat for us next year. He's probably going to get called up in September. He's going to be at least on the short list to consider. But either way, these are 2 guys who are going to have the keys to our franchise going forward, especially as this new crop is starting to settle in and be full-time big leaders / some of these guys are starting to move, and pieces we've had here for a very long time are starting to go the other way. So that's going to do it here. Which of these guys would you rather start your franchise with, Troy Wood or Roger Cologne? I think they're both very, very good at 21 years old. And we will see you next time for some more Colorado Rockies on the way soon.